Okay, so now Euro USD. So that's the big chart I had posted, I think, 2 weeks ago or something like that, when we were touching this trend line with this confluence of very big weekly resistances here. So it was something we could see, and I draw it like this, like a big M shape here, which could go up to this level here, which is 118.57, 118.60 to make it easier, or even lower to the 116.40. Of course, this one would be something much more important. So if we see something accelerating on the way down here, that's some areas we will need to look at, even perhaps higher, starting um, from this area here where we have some weekly order blocks and things like that. So it's something I keep in mind. I just wanted to show it again. Of course, we broke this big weekly trend line here. We came back to test it and bounce from it. That was some times ago. We know we saw this back test here with a double bottom, signing a very good long setup. That was in September 2020. Then we went up. We touched this level, this confluence of very strong weekly resistances. We see it all the way back here. And now we have this trend line that I'm looking at, which is only with two spikes. So now we could have the third one. And then if we had the third one, everything can happen here. So either we go lower, or either we pump some momentum here and bounce. So we have several options. I don't say that will happen, but that's something I keep in mind on the long term. We could see something like this, which would be a fantastic long entry here. Even if we look at the EMA and moving averages, we have some confluence here there. So that's why I started with this chart, long-term view, and just to keep in mind as something that can give us some very good levels. So we have here the 119 to make it easier. 119 will be very, very, very important and very good for a long, in my opinion. Okay, then the other thing is this chart where I put the same EMA that we just look on the Dixie chart. So it's the same thing. The difference is the Dixie is under his EMA. He didn't broke it yet. And here we see that we have a small breakout of the 20 weekly EMA. So it could not hold the price on the close basis. Let's look at the daily close. So if we look at the daily close, we see we have been holding the price. So now on the 4 hours, it's not so important. So if we look really there, we have been holding like we did on the Dixie. We had this same chart here, and we have been holding it. So that's what I was showing before. And we had this kind of double top or this area, which is very strong with the yearly open. Same thing, always keeping an eye on this on this chart. Concerning euro dollar, so it's the same as a Dixie. We have these big 20 weekly moving averages that we saw has been holding the price. We had this trend line, broken trend line. We retested it here, and then we had the first move down. We went up to this black level, the pip more or less. We have the weekly open there, so the yearly open there with the green level. So that's why this area is very important on euro dollar for as a short area. We will have some move this week, so it can be a good place to get short, of course. And here we need to break and close under the weekly moving average on a daily basis at least. So we have all the levels and the tools we can use to get short or long depending on the signal we get. If we look at the tools, we see like Dixie, we see we are a little bit up on the stochastics here. We could go higher on this one, meaning we can get a pullback, which can be the 23.6 or the 21.40 fib of the Dixie that I just mentioned. And for now, we have no real setup. Same as Dixie, we had a setup long here, a very poor reaction for now. We know that the FOMC weeks are very slow at the beginning usually, but that's something we look for. We will get some pullbacks to those green levels in this area and some FIBS area we have here. And we want to see how do we react on a short setup on the euro dollar. So like here, we had a short setup and we saw this reaction and then the big move, not so big, but the move on Friday. So that's what we look for. Come back to some levels, look for some long setups here with a 15-minute and a 1 hour, something like that. Here we would have a signal and the stochastics on the highest level, and then we will short it and see how do we react. Either we get a very small reaction and that will tell us the momentum is not yet shifted on the short side of the euro dollar, meaning on the long side of the USD. That's exactly the same because, as we know, Dixie is made 55% of euro. So it's normal we have a mirror effect in this pair. So we need to see what is going to happen here, keeping always a close eye on this, on this Dixie chart that we just saw, because that's what will drive it. So we have that, and we have this with the levels. So we look for some confluences on the we look for some confluences, and we will find some confluences, of course. That's what, that's my big screens. I have too many screens here. So that's what I usually do. We know we have this level at 90.45 and at 90.36, and for sure that will correspond to some level in this area. So always track, at least that's what I do. I always track euro dollar with Dixie at the same time. We see we start to have some little bit of band, so we will see what happens next.